Hello everyone. I wanted to just quickly put up these two charts. The outside and the blue is the time that the Snapchat photo was taken when Libby and Abby were murdered. The outside is the latest suspect. Now, I am certainly not one of those people that are just going to go, yeah, he's the guy. There's some suspicious stuff for sure. I mean, he's obviously a psycho. There's no doubt about that. He's got a proclivity for younger girls. He doesn't like people. He looks like the sketch. He's got the same build, lives nearby, lives within the vicinity of the map, if you've watched the videos. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to pull up his chart. I don't have his birth time, of course, but I've got the date. Now, the first thing that jumped out to me was the DC line is the suspect. Always has been. And I'll never forget, it's 6 degrees of Capricorn, because the ascendant was 6 degrees of Cancer. Now, this is his moon. It's at 5 or 6 degrees of Capricorn. That is one thing that goes in the "it's possible" section. Then you start to have a look at a few other things, and there's a couple of things. So this is his Pluto here, and this is the moon at the time when the girls were murdered. The moon was at 11 degrees of Libra, and his Pluto is at 13 of Libra. So very close to that moon, that Pluto moon. It's a tad iffy as well. But even closer, up here, his sun in Pisces is conjunct the murder chart's Chiron, the wounded healer. His Mars is conjunct the sun in the chart at the time. His Venus is conjunct Uranus. And he has Jupiter at 26 degrees of Taurus, which is Algol. Now, Algol is not a great position, especially if you use it for what you deem to be something that you enjoy. I think I haven't done the chart for when he took the other little girl, and I will do that. But and I haven't heard too many details, but I imagine that he goes for the throat, because that's what Taurus and Algol is. Well, it's losing one's head, so he'd lose his mind, go for the throat. He's very aggressive, I can see that. Now, his Saturn is at 10 degrees of Leo, so I look for anything around 10 degrees. And we've got a whole bunch of things: Neptune, Mercury, and the moon. So the moon there, Neptune, and Mercury. So his Saturn is opposing Mercury on the day. That's where their bodies were located, in the Mercury position. That's another really big red flag. Saturn is Father Time, bodies, and it's in a very tight opposition to where their bodies were found. Which then actually leads me to thinking about where he lives, in Lafayette. It's roughly this way, down this way from where they were murdered, literally. Anyway, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. You can't just say, yes, he did it. There's a few other things we need to look at. So let's have a look at a few other things. All right, so I thought I would just pop up the chart for the Chadwell guy that attacked that young girl and who is a possible person of interest in the Libyan Abbey case. So let's have a look at a couple of things on here. I don't know his time of birth, so we don't know his rising. And so I can't say that Mars is on his ascendant. I can't say that at all. But what I can say is that the aspects are right. The moon could move by a few degrees, but generally it's probably about right. So his moon is on the descendant of the Snapchat chart. The descendant is the perpetrator. It's a very big red flag, actually, a really big one. And I don't say that lightly because many people have been suspects. But you have to start paying attention when one of the main planets, the moon, falls on the perpetrator line. Now, he is a Piscean with Mercury conjunct the Sun, so I think now, this is not all Pisceans, but many. He's very chameleon-like and emotional, not in a good way, obviously, but yeah, he's emotional. You can see it from his TikToks, actually, that even though he shows sort of no emotion on his face, it looks like he's going to cry all the time because he's so lonely. Which makes sense, actually, because there's a square to Neptune up there in the 10th house, so he's not seen. The reason he took that little girl probably is because he's not seen by anybody and he wanted to be noticed. So that's another reason why you would kill other people. So there's another reason why it's possible that he had some involvement because the dude doesn't get seen. Now, I'm using the houses here, but still, that's the square between the two. So he's invisible, and he doesn't like it. His Saturn is in Leo retrograde. To me, Saturn is a very... I don't use the word karmic lightly because I don't like it, but I do believe that we relive and pay, and boy, do we pay if we do the wrong thing. And when you've got a retrograde Saturn in Leo, that's like a completely flipped around ego. Not necessarily on its own, but especially when we have a square to Uranus. It's like he doesn't think inwardly, actually. No, that's wrong. He thinks inwardly, but it's all based around what he wants, what he doesn't get. Poor me, I don't get this and that, so I have to go out and get what I want, and I'll do it in a shocking way, like Uranus here. Okay, Jupiter, like I said, is at 26 degrees of Taurus, so Algol, Medusa's head, and it's forming a square to Mars. So there's your anger and his propensity to go for somebody's head, actually, as well. That's definitely what that shows me there. Now, I'm just going to pop up the Snapchat chart, or the photo chart, I should say. So this is very interesting, actually. On the left, we've got the chart for when the little girl was taken by Chadwell, and on the right is the Snapchat photo. Now, if we look at the angles, they've just flipped around. So on the Snapchat, we have the ascendant at 6 Cancer and descendant at 6 Capricorn. In this attack, we have the IC at 6 Capricorn and the MC at 6 Cancer. So it's done a swap. So it puts his moon on the IC, which is another pivotal point, of course. Now, in the Snapchat picture chart, the ruler of the girls is in the 4th house, which is the end of the matter, that angle. The ruler over here of the little girl is Venus, and that's in the 8th house, which is another angle that's relative. The 4th, the 8th, and the 12th, they have similar meanings of hidden sort of darker motives and the end of life and the beginning of life and all those things. That girl was very, very lucky to be alive, because there's her Venus there, conjunct the 8th house cusp of death. I think she was really quite close to death, that poor girl. The interesting thing as well is note that there's no, when he attacked the 9-year-old, there's no planets over here in these houses. And the same with Libyan Abbey, there's nothing over here. And what's a barrier, a 180-degree barrier, in this one is the moon and Pluto, and everything's coming off of that. And then in Libyan Abbey, it's the moon and Uranus, and everything's coming off of that. It's an inner planet and an outer acting like a barrier. So just generally as a whole picture, it's intriguing. Then we do have a couple of things as well that are similar. Now, he lured that little girl into his basement by using a dog. That's here. Dogs are in the 6th house, and Neptune is deception. So that's showing us that he lured her. And then there's a line here to Pluto. Pluto is basements. He lured her with the dog into his basement, which was going to be the end of her life. Now, when I look over here to Libyan Abbey, I notice that Neptune is connected to the moon there, both at 11 degrees. And then when I look back to here, I notice that Neptune is also connected to this moon. I'm beginning to wonder whether he used, if it was the same person, or even if it wasn't, the Snapchat photo chart, the bridge guy possibly lured them by saying that there was some kind of cute animal or something like that, playing on their emotions. More so, it's telling me that this person is possibly the same person, because it's like they use the same MO, the same way to get somebody into the situation they want to put them in. So, there are definitely some strong indicators, some conjunctions, some planetary patterns, some interesting angles for both attacks. I can't say that this guy is not of interest, because I think he is. I think he looks like the sketch, and I think it's possible, anything's possible. But what I am going to do is using his, using the Snapchat chart, actually using the angles, the 6 Capricorn and Cancer, we're going to have a quick look on the map and see if that lines up with perhaps where he lives. Just looking at a map here, I'll go in. There's the bridge, there's where that dude lives. This is the Capricorn line across here, and this is the Cancer line. Now, if it turns out that he ever worked, lived, or whatever around these areas, or Kokomo, which is exactly where I was heading to in all of the first videos, as well as the west side. But if we find out that he lived in around this area at any point in time near the murders or after, then it's very possible that he could be the guy. Now, the line to his house there, it doesn't really, it fits in to the charts, but it doesn't aspect anything in particular. So I don't believe that he's gone to this bridge from this house here. I wouldn't be surprised though if he has come from this area over to here. Anyway, if that is the case, we're going to just have to wait and find out, I think, or some sleuthers may be able to get to the bottom of it. If he lived around these areas, County Road, 200 North, Frederick Farms, Kokomo, anywhere around here, then he is somebody that I would look at definitely again. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now because I'm not going to just carry on and on and on about a guy that, you know, we don't know enough about. What I will say is that I don't believe the tattoo on his arm is Libby, because I think that he had that before the murders. He's absolutely a creep, a psycho. He needs to be in jail, definitely. His own family has said that he's capable of doing this. So hopefully the police just move forward and find the evidence they need. It's very, very possible that perhaps a dog hair could be the evidence that they may need DNA-wise. Actually, let's have a look at something. DNA is in the house of the perpetrator, Capricorn. Making an aspect to Jupiter. So it's possible. It's possible. And look at that, Jupiter rules the 6th house, which is dogs. There's a nice aspect there. It's possible that a dog hair could be the breaking point. Anyway, fingers crossed that there's some resolution soon. I'm not doing the side by side. We all know that the guy looks like him. He definitely does. I hope you got something from that, and take care, everyone.